Welcome to my channel FemVision. Her name was Sarah Elizabeth Harlan. She was 46 years old, a pediatric nurse who still hummed Disney songs while doing dishes, who kept a secret stash of gummy bears in her locker at work, who kissed my forehead every single night until the day I left for college even though I pretended to hate it. She was the sun in our house. And on March 12, 2024, a 19-year-old kid with 3 times the legal limit in his blood took her from us forever. I was 22. Second semester senior year. I'd come home for spring break because mom begged me to. Just one more family dinner before you graduate and forget about us, she teased over FaceTime. I never got to say goodbye. Dad called me from the hospital parking lot at 2:17 a.m. His voice sounded like gravel soaked in whiskey. She's gone. I drove to the hospital on autopilot, still in the sweatpants I'd fallen asleep in. When I got there, Dad was sitting on the curb holding Mom's purse like it was the only thing keeping him tethered to the planet. His hands were covered in her blood. They tried to clean him up, but it was under his nails, in the creases of his knuckles. He looked up at me with eyes that weren't his anymore. She asked for you, he said. Right at the end. Said tell Ethan I love him bigger than the sky. I dropped to my knees on the asphalt and screamed until security came. The funeral was a blur of black dresses and casserole dishes and people saying she's in a better place, while Dad stood beside the casket like a statue someone had forgotten to finish carving. I kept waiting for him to break. He never did. Not in public. He broke at home. 3 weeks after we buried her, I came downstairs at 3 a.m. for water and found him on the kitchen floor in his boxers, clutching her favorite coffee mug to his chest, sobbing so hard he was dry heaving. The man who used to lift me onto his shoulders when I was little, who taught me to throw a spiral, who never cried, not even when his own father died, was curled up like a child. I knelt beside him. Dad. He looked up at me with the most lost expression I've ever seen on a human face. I don't know how to do this without her, Ethan. I don't know how to be in this house. I don't know how to breathe. Something inside me snapped, not in anger but in pure, desperate love. I'd always been Mom's mini-me. Same hazel eyes, same soft mouth, same slender build. I was 5 feet 7 inches, 138 pounds soaking wet, with shoulder-length brown hair I'd refused to cut since sophomore year because she loved braiding it when I was stressed about exams. People had mistaken me for her little sister more than once when I was younger. And I'd always had feelings. Secret ones. The kind you bury so deep you hope they die. I'd tried on her clothes starting at 13. Just once or twice at first, a pair of panties when she was at work, a sundress in the mirror when no one was home. It wasn't sexual. It was peace. Like putting on a skin that finally fit. I'd stand there for hours sometimes, heart hammering, terrified of being caught but unable to stop. I'd cry afterward, call myself every ugly name in the book, delete the selfies, swear never again. But I always went back. After the funeral those feelings came roaring back. Harder. Because now her clothes were just hanging in the closet, waiting. Smelling like her. Like lavender and vanilla and home. That night on the kitchen floor I made a decision that changed everything. Dad, I said, voice shaking. I have an idea. But it's crazy. He looked at me like I was the last lifeboat on the Titanic. Anything. I told him. Everything. How I'd always felt wrong in boy clothes. How wearing hers made me feel close to her. How maybe, just maybe, if I became her even a little it would be enough to keep him breathing. Just at home. Just until he was okay again. He didn't speak for a long time. Then he whispered, if it would bring her back, even 1%. I'd burn the world down. The first night was clumsy and sacred. I showered with her lavender body wash until I smelled exactly like her. Shaved my legs, my arms, my chest, everywhere I could reach. Used her razor, her lotion, her perfume, light blue by Dolce & Gabbana, the one she wore on date nights. I chose the softest thing in her drawer. A pale pink satin nightgown with lace at the hem that hit mid-thigh and matching high-cut panties. I brushed my hair forward, parted it in the middle like she used to when it was long. I even found her reading glasses and perched them on my nose. When I walked into the living room, Dad was on the couch with a bottle of Jack between his knees. He looked up. The bottle slipped from his fingers and shattered on the hardwood. Sarah, he breathed. I walked over slowly, barefoot, the nightgown swishing against my thighs. Knelt in front of him. It's me, baby, I said in the softest voice I could manage. I'm home. He stared at me for so long I thought he'd tell me to stop. Instead he reached out with trembling fingers and touched my cheek like I was made of glass. You even sound like her, he whispered. Then he pulled me into his lap and cried into my neck, breathing me in like I was the only oxygen left on earth. His hands clutched the satin like it was the only thing keeping him from floating away. I held him until dawn. He fell asleep with his head on my chest, one arm locked around my waist like he was afraid I'd disappear. I didn't sleep. I lay there feeling his heartbeat against my fake breasts. I'd stuffed the nightgown with socks, just enough to give the illusion, and thought, this is insane. This is grief. This will end. It didn't end. It evolved. Week by week I became more her. Dad started helping without being asked. He ordered makeup tutorials on his iPad and watched them with me, handing me brushes like a surgical nurse. He bought me my first real bra, 34B padded blush pink, and cried in the Target parking lot when I came out of the bathroom wearing it under one of her blouses. He taught me to cook her recipes, standing behind me at the stove with his arms around my waist, chin on my shoulder, whispering, just like that, baby, exactly the way he used to with her. He started calling me Emily. Mom's middle name was Emily, and it fit me better than Ethan ever had. At first only when I was dressed. Then all the time. By summer I was living as Emily full-time at home. I dropped out of college. Told my friends I was taking a gap year to care for Dad. Cut contact with everyone who knew Ethan. Dad took me shopping for my own clothes, not hers anymore. Dresses that fit my body, not hers. Heels I learned to walk in without wobbling. Lingerie that made his eyes go dark in the way they used to when Mom wore something special. The first time he made love to me it was August, humid thunderstorm rolling in. I was wearing a white lace baby doll that barely covered anything, hair curled like hers used to be for date nights. He'd cooked her favorite meal, chicken marsala, poured us wine, put on their wedding playlist. We slow danced in the living room to Etta James, his hands on my waist, my head on his shoulder. I miss her so much, he whispered against my hair. I know, I said, voice breaking. But I'm here. I've always been here. He pulled back, looked at me with eyes full of tears and something else, something that scared me and thrilled me in equal measure. You're not her, he said. But you're everything. Then he kissed me. Not on the forehead. Not on the cheek. Full on the mouth, slow and deep and desperate like he'd been starving for years. I kissed him back. We didn't make it to the bedroom. He took me on the couch, gentle at first, then harder, whispering her name, my name, both names, neither name. I cried the whole time, from grief, from love, from relief that I could ease his pain even a little. Afterward he held me like I was the most precious thing in his universe. I'm sorry, he sobbed. I'm so sorry. Don't be, I whispered, kissing his tears. I wanted it. I want you. We never slept apart again. By fall I was Emily completely. HRT started in September, low dose, private clinic that didn't ask too many questions when Dad paid cash. My breasts budded, real, tender, perfect. My skin softened. My hips widened. My voice settled into something naturally feminine from months of training. Dad built me a vanity in the bedroom, filled it with every makeup product under the sun. He learned to do my hair, French braids, curls, updos. He bought me jewelry, Mom's old pieces, plus new ones that were just for me. We got married in December. Not legally, obviously, but in every way that mattered. He proposed on Christmas Eve in front of the tree, down on one knee with Mom's old engagement ring resized for me. Marry me, Emily. Be my wife. Let me love you the way I loved her. The way I love you. I said yes through ugly, happy tears. The ceremony was just us, in the backyard under the snow, me in a white lace wedding dress we'd ordered custom, him in the suit he wore to their funeral. We wrote our own vows. He promised to love me every day for the rest of his life. I promised to keep her memory alive in us and to love him even when it hurt. We consummated it that night in front of the fireplace, slow and reverent, snow falling outside. 2 years later and this is our life. I'm 25 now. Full-time Emily. Legally changed my name and gender marker last year. Real D-cup breasts from hormones and one small implant surgery Dad paid for on our anniversary. Long blonde hair, I dyed it to match her final color. Curves in all the right places. I greet him at the door every day in dresses and heels, dinner on the table, cocktail in hand. I call him honey, and baby, and husband. He calls me wife and beautiful, and my everything. We make love constantly in the kitchen while dinner burns in the shower, slow and sweet on Sunday mornings. He worships my body like it's sacred. I worship his like it's the only thing keeping me sane. We keep Mom's photo on the mantle. I talk to her every day. Tell her thank you for raising a man who could love this fiercely. Tell her I'm sorry and thank you and I love you all at once. People think I'm his new wife from out of town. Younger woman who helped him heal. They say I look just like his late wife when she was young. We smile and say thank you. No one knows the truth. That I used to be his son. That grief twisted us into something the world would call monstrous. That I've never been happier. That he says I saved his life. That I wear her perfume and his ring and sleep in his arms every night and it feels like coming home. After Mom's death, I became my dad's wife overnight. And somehow, in the ruins of the worst thing that ever happened to us, we found the only way to survive. I don't know if this is healthy. I don't know if this is forever. I just know that when he holds me in the dark and whispers, "Thank you for staying," it feels like the most true thing in the world. And for now that's enough.